What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Fantasy Flex podcast from the Action Network and Fantasy Labs. I'm your host, Chris Raybon. It's NFL Week 12. As always, I'll be joined by one of the most accurate fantasy rankers in the game, the odds maker, Sean Koerner. Quick reminder, all of our fantasy football content is available right now over on fantasylabs.com. Fantasy Labs NFL includes in-season rankings, waiver wire and DFS tips, and much more. Be sure to use code FLEX20 for $20 off at fantasylabs.com/flex. All right, today, waiver wire, we'll go position by position. Sean Koerner, how you feeling?
Pretty good. Yeah, I had a good week, betting wise, but man, Fantasy Pros, probably not going to win it this year, if I'm being honest, but I had like a huge fade on Baker Mayfield. I was like -10 because of the wind, tough matchup. And that, what do you finish as the QB5? So I've given up trying to ever fade Baker Mayfield ever again. But I think I had a pretty bad week on Fantasy Pros as a result. But yeah, that's what I get for fading Baker, I guess.
Yeah, I mean he's been a tough all year long. It's just he's going to throw some touchdowns somehow, whether they come with like 1 second left in the clock or not. But
and 3 games straight with no rush attempts, and then he just turns into Josh Allen.
Yeah.
Just that guy's an enigma. Like you said, I'm just gonna manually make him in my top 5 going forward. I think at this point, not even bother.
I mean, he does face the Rams this weekend, who completely shut down Darnold. So maybe one more week because I was pretty low on Mayfield myself, but I was also low on Darnold. So you know what I mean? It's
nice.
It evens out. Yeah. But we'll get into hopefully some guys that are not going to be knocked out by the Rams this weekend at quarterback.
Yeah.
I think we like guys in the same game. So I'll start with you, Sean. Who are you looking at quarterback for Week 12?
Yeah, I prefer your guy over mine if he's still available somehow. But I'm going to go with Trevor Lawrence here, who's still available in 58% of leagues. Always seems like a decent streaming option because he's always kind of like a high-end QB2 for me. His passing volume has taken a hit recently, but last week they were blowing out the Chargers, so they didn't have to throw the ball much. They were just gashing them on the ground. So I think he finished with less than 160 passing yards, but he continues to use his legs in the red zone. Scored his 5th rushing touchdown this season. I know you were on his anytime touchdowns early in the season, and he's been racking them up ever since. So yeah, he just has that kind of hidden rushing upside. Maybe not a ton of rushing yards, but certainly around the goal line, he's using his legs. But this could be more of a shootout against the Cardinals, so maybe he throws more here. Could be getting Brian Thomas Jr. back, which would be huge. Might also be getting his tight ends, Brenton Strange and even Hunter Long back this week. So, a lot more weapons available this week potentially. And, Jacoby Myers, he's now more of a full-time player in this offense. Should only get more chemistry with him going forward. Had a nice game, 5 catches for 64 yards last week, kind of filling in that, Travis Hunter loss. Trevor Lawrence, he's my QB 14 to open the week. I think he's a pretty good streaming option this week once again.
Yeah, and I don't even know if Brian Thomas will help at this point. I mean, I feel like Tim Patrick, Parker Washington, and Myers are probably like the best 3 at this point. Like,
Washington has helped. Yeah, I guess it depends which version of Brian Thomas Jr. shows up. The rookie season version would be great, but who knows? Yeah, at this point, Tim Patrick, like you said, we were trying to guess how many, his routes run rate. He's been feeling great, and he's a solid, end zone threat type of guy. So even if Brian Thomas Jr. is out, they have enough guys to kind of step up without him.
Yeah, I think it's just not having to throw to Thomas and Diami Brown in the end zone has helped Lawrence, because those guys, they would never be on the same page for some reason.
Yeah.
I don't know. But yeah, I like Jacoby Brissett in the same game. Liked him last week. Like him again. He's just been really solid in terms of filling in that quarterback role for the Arizona Cardinals. Now had 5 straight games with multiple touchdown passes. Got our guy Greg Dortch in the end zone last week late. Did throw 2 picks against the Niners, but 452 passing yards for Brissett last week. I mean, at this point, he's like Kyler Murray, except all those rushing yards that Kyler would get just happen through the air. You get more touchdowns. And yeah, I think that, Brissett, if he's available, he should be available in about half, maybe 2/3 of leagues, depending on your format. Up against Jacksonville, I think this is a good spot too because it's back in Arizona, and we saw the struggle. Wait, it is in Arizona, right? Let me make sure.
Yeah, it's in Arizona.
Yeah, it's in Arizona, and kind of every time Justin Herbert or like anyone goes down to Jacksonville, it seems like in the middle of late in the year, it could just be a weird game. So like I like that this is back in a more climate controlled Arizona. They'd have the roof and whatnot, but tends to be a lot better conditions here. So I like that this game is being played there as opposed to in Jacksonville. I think there's just a wider range of outcomes for everybody involved. So like Brissett. Like Lawrence as well, he would have been my next choice as well. But Brissett is, I guess, at this point, he's a top 12 quarterback.
Rest of season, right? I mean, even if I thought Kyler was kind of healthy to return already, but they put him on IR. But at this point, why would you go to him? Brissett kind of reminds me of 2023 Joe Flacco, where it's just like end of season, he's just good and he's elevating the entire offense. It's making everybody better, but he's also not like some mall Santa either. You mentioned, he's not scrambling as much as Kyler, but he has a couple of games now with like 20 plus. He had a 30 plus rushing yard game, so he's not like a mall Santa. He's just a beast out there. So yeah, I think he's like a QB1 option the rest of the way at this point.
You know who 2023 Joe Flacco replaced? 2022 Jacoby Brissett.
No way.
Cleveland for Deshaun Watson. Yeah. No,
I just realized that. Yeah. They have so many quarterbacks. I forgot about that. But yeah, this Brissett's better. But yeah, it's undeniable at this point that he's elevating this offense way more than Kyler could.
Like the Gerard Mayo Brissett wasn't great, but then again, the Gerard Mayo Patriots weren't great, and the other Patriots have been Super Bowl champs before them, and they're the best team in the league now. So I'm going to say it was also, just a victim of the situation. But running back, who are you looking at for Week 12 on the wire?
Yeah, so I mean, as always, Tyler Algier and Blake Corum, your weekly reminder that those guys, they're already kind of offering RB3 flex value, although Corum, he's definitely much more of the handcuff now after last week. But they're the only backs.
Did you see what happened?
Yeah, he got stuff like
doing, doing. Isaiah Pacheco impression, just doing, doing, doing.
Yeah, that's not. I would say that's not his skill set. But if Kyler never misses time, I think he'll be better. But yeah, Algier and Corum are the only backs widely available that I think have RB1 upside if the starter goes down. So those are still the guys I'd rather have my bench. Last week I said, Sean Tucker was the potential 1 week flyer. That happened. I don't know if he has long-term upside at this point because Bucky might return. So I think the time to get Tucker was last week. But I think the guy that's kind of sneaky that I do think has longer-term upside, he's actually on a bye this week, and it's Chris Rodriguez Jr., who's available in 88% of leagues. But this guy's always been sneaky good, limited action. But last couple weeks, they've kind of been treating him as the lead back. I think he was like labeled as the team captain last week. Yeah. I don't know if that carried over to this week, but they kind of made it known that they were kind of pivoting to C-Rod, who's been getting the start. He typically plays, the first two series. Then Bill gets the third series, and they kind of got the hot hand. But C-Rod looked really good, last week in Spain, 15 carries, 79 yards. And the week before that, he might have had a big game, but he hurt his shoulder. So I think he got knocked out in like the third quarter. Either way, he's kind of what Bill's role was heading into the last couple weeks. So he's worth a flyer if you just need a guy that's potentially going to be an RB3 flex without even needing an injury the rest of the way. I think he could do worse. And just considering he's on a bye, you might be able to get him cheaper than someone like a Tucker who, again, I don't know if he's going to offer value this week or going forward. But, C-Rod seems like a sneakier ad this week that you can get a little bit cheaper.
Yeah, I mean, after Tucker's last game, he might be Tucky, and Bucky Irving is just Bucker. And he's just the RB3.
Yeah.
Tucker's the
I mean, Tucker went the sixth round or something, but he was like Syracuse. A legit. Yeah, he was like a legit, round 2, round 3 prospect, but it was like a heart condition, so he kind of fell in the draft. And it really hasn't turned out to be an issue at all. So he's very talented, and you're like when Bucky returns, it could still be Tucker's backfield. We don't know at this point.
Yeah, I mean, but they didn't have that much success early in the year with Bucky, so it would be interesting. I mean, he might just be on the shelf at this point. It's just kind of been like a week to week thing. You never know when he's going to come back, but yeah, I think Tucker he's definitely earned the spot over White going forward, like as a runner. So yeah, the guy I mentioned, it's Josh Jacobs looks like he avoided a major injuries, but still don't know what's going on with him for the Vikings game. He did get knocked out of that last game against the Giants. So Emmanuel Wilson available in 90% of leagues against the Vikings would be the ad here. Now it's just it's hard to know exactly how much to bid for him.
Yeah.
Because I mean, at this point, how much of a chance do you take on him with Jacobs not being ruled out yet for this game? Like, would you still, if you're a running back needy team, go like, 20%, 25, 50, or would you go lower? Just there's no, that's no official.
Yeah, it depends on what your status. If you're set for the playoffs, I would back off. But also, what are you kind of saving the Fab for? We're reaching the point where you got to use it at some point. Again, if Algier or Corum are available, those are the guys that are going to warrant, the rest of everybody's bankroll if their starter goes down. But right now, I'm projecting Jacobs to return because it sounds like it's. He's survived like a major injury. Where would you rank Wilson this week if Jacobs is out? Like, how are you handling that? Because, I have him as like a high-end RB2, but he could push RB1 value, right? If Jacobs is out.
Yeah, because he kind of would. I think he would get the same role because if you watch the Packers, like Jacobs, he would come out a little more than the average, like, high-end RB1. He was getting about 68, 70% of the backfield carries. And Wilson was getting more involved. They will use Brooks, I think, more on pass downs, but they didn't last week. So, that was also interesting. So, yeah, he would be like RB15, RB13 if Jacobs is out. So, definitely, I think worth an ad because he's had weeks where he's kind of in that same Corum Algier production kind of group anyway. Just, if no one scores a touchdown, like they're all pretty much the same guy. Algier actually might be the worst in that case, but it's I would still bid like a decent amount, if like maybe like 20% if you can afford it. But if not, if you're just in like a pinch mode, I probably would pivot to like an Algier. I think if he's just because he's gonna be in the game plan every week, whereas Jacobs always gets those goal line looks first. So that's really the killer for Wilson.
Yeah, you got to take it as late as you can, like depending on what coast you're on. Have your phone next to you, just waiting for potential Josh Jacobs news. We probably won't get it, late at night, but it's just depending on what situation you're in. If you want to be aggressive, and if you land Wilson, let's say you do bid 20%, I think he's one of the best backup running backs out there who could start this week. You can make a case you should bid, a hefty amount on him. If you get him and Jacobs plays this week, just know that you have one of the top handcuffs. Because like you said, if Jacobs does miss time, let's say Jacobs tries to play through this and he, aggravates it and he does end up on the IR. Now you have, a potential RB1 on your bench. So, it's you have to make your own call. You have to make your own risk, management, situation here. But Wilson, if Jacobs is out, would be, pushing RB1 value.
And there's still some other options. I mean, Gainwell, Jaylen Warren looks like he could have came back in that game, but I think Gainwell's another one of those like in that Algier kind of camp where he probably has a little bit of value, even with Warren there. Brian Robinson getting more work in San Francisco if you just want like a flyer if the starter goes down. Mm-hmm. Devin Singletary seems like week to week he could be the lead back for at least like half the game. And then you got Michael Carter or whoever's healthy in the Arizona backfield, like Bam Knight is going to split the work with somebody. So it looks like DeMarcado's out. So it could be Carter or potentially Benson, but still looks like Benson's not ready to come back yet. But it is early in the week. So we'll see. We'll see how that kind of shapes up. But a lot of options. All right. Wide receiver. Who do we like?
Well, first off, I made a promise. I'd mention this guy, Alec Pierce, available in 52% of leagues. I'm going to mention him until he's taken in more than half the leagues. And I know you're going to talk about him, so I'll just leave it at that. But I also like the Alec Pierce of the Packers, Christian Watson, who's available in 66% of leagues right now. But he's essentially the Alec Pierce role in the Packers where he obviously carries a ton of big play upside, but he's playing a ton right now. Even with everybody pretty much healthy. I know, Reed's still on IR. When he returns, it could be even murkier, but, Watson had a team high 80% routes run rate last week. So he's offering a high enough floor, even, with the heavy rotation they have there, to where I think you could play him as a wide receiver flex with upside. If you're like a Dan Campbell like manager where you like to just shoot on upside whenever you can, I think he's a solid play right now. And like we just mentioned, Josh Jacobs might not suit up. So, Wilson's great. And, I think they're going to lean on him, but they might just be a bit more pass heavy if Jacobs is out. So this is a good spot for Watson where I have him projected. He's like my wide receiver 40. But again, just when you're using your wide receiver 3 slot or flex, I'm always willing to be a bit more aggressive and play guys with more upside. And that's certainly Watson. He had that amazing touchdown catch last week. So I think he's just a solid player right now. And even with, them having a ton of guys, he's still getting a ton of playing time. So I think he's worth an ad this week. And also Darnell Mooney, available in 68% of leagues against the Saints. He's definitely had a down year this year, but he's been battling injuries. And I think he's probably closer to 100% now. And with, Drake London out, he's going to have to step up. Unfortunately, Michael Penix is also hurt. It looks like this could be a potentially season-ending injury. We'll see. But, Kirk Cousins is there. So you heard he has, chemistry with Kirk Cousins. So I think he could step up this week. And I have him as my wide receiver 30. This is a game against the Saints where it's not, a down matchup or anything. It's going to be in a dome. So I do like Mooney this week to finally get things on track. He's going to have to. They have basically nobody behind him on the wide receiver depth chart. They got David Sills, the 5th or the 4th, whoever it is, running 80% of routes out there. So he's, kind of like the cardio king role out there. So I think Mooney's got to get it going this week. Definitely a time to kind of add him if you're desperate.
Yeah, but he comes out as my wide receiver 30 as well with London
Nice.
out. And, Cousins, the thing about him is, he can't move, but he could spray the ball around a little more. Like I also wonder if it's better for just everybody like Sills and Pitts too, because Penix just wouldn't throw to the middle. I think that's partly why like Pitts and the slot and the tight end are having the worst season. But I mean, so is Mooney. He was down too. So Penix was just really locking on to London. So I think we're going to see an uptick for everybody on the Falcons. But Mooney, he should be the wide receiver 1. I mean, he was kind of like like a wide receiver 2 in fantasy at times last year. Definitely a wide receiver 3. I've been waiting for him to kind of get it going.
Yeah, so Sills will probably be the wide receiver 2. Who do you think steps up for London? I think it's going to be Kadero Hodge, right? Because it seems like he's been kind of London's direct backup, whereas Casey Washington has been Mooney's backup. Do you think Hodge is going to be like a 70% route run guy? More of a big play threat guy, but how do you kind of project that right now, early in the week? Obviously, I'm
kind of splitting them with a little more toward Hodge, just because like when they have a whole week to kind of prepare, sometimes they just have a guy practice in a different spot. Then it's like when it's just like they usually have 6 receivers active, so it usually is like one guy backing up one guy. So if a guy goes down mid game, his backup in practice would come in. But with the entire week, it's a little more murky, but I would still give the edge to Hodge. But Washington's also been hurt. So it's like with the Giants, 1 week it's like Ray McLeod, the next week it's Oshevsky, the next week it's Hodgins. Like you never know when they have a full week to kind of get it going. But I give Hodge a little bit of an edge, but I'm not going to I'm not going to keep Washington at his 5% anymore either. I'm going to kind of, it's like 50-40, 60-40 Hodge, something like that. And maybe Jamal Agnew gets snaps. Probably not. It'll probably be they'll probably call it like Dylan Drummond or somebody like that.
Oh God, yeah. Anyways, I think it's just Mooney and Pitts. Those are the only guys you could trust in terms of like the pass catching groups anyway.
Bijan and Bijan, yeah,
Bijan all the way.
But Alec Pierce, you started to talk about him. I think he's a great ad if he's still available in your league. He only has 2 games below 50 receiving yards. And Daniel Jones, it's kind of surprising because you would think, Daniel Jones, he always kind of hesitates a little to throw that deep ball. But because the Colts have so many weapons, the one thing about Jones is he'll throw to guys when they're open and he can see the throw, kind of opening up down the field. So I think that's really what's been happening with Pierce is that he's been, you got to give him single coverage when you got Warren and Pittman and Josh Downs is there now. You still got Taylor to worry about. So this is a game where it's a tough matchup against the Chiefs, but could be a higher scoring game just because of the offense is involved. So Pierce, got his first touchdown a couple of weeks ago, probably underperforming touchdown wise. So he could be in for some positive touchdown regression. He is he's a great play if you're facing somebody with a Colt player too, because he tends to hog yards if he catches one of those long bombs, which he has almost every game. He's 5 games with all but 2 games he's caught at least a 36-yard pass. So yeah, he's that's about as ridiculous as it gets when it comes to deep big play receivers, because he's also been pretty consistent with only 3 games with fewer than 4 catches. So that's really the key for him, is that he's getting enough volume that even if he doesn't get into the end zone, he's been good. So like him in this matchup against the Chiefs, where they're going to kind of cover other guys first. So Alec Pierce, if he's there, go get him. We'll get to tight end in a second, but it's that time of year. We have the best deal on Action Pro as part of our Black Friday presale. It's live right now. Sign up for $40 off an annual subscription, which is our biggest sale of the year. Action Pro users get real-time alerts as soon as experts like Sean Koerner, Nick Giffen, Stuckey, myself track picks in the Action app. Without Action Pro, you need to wait 30 minutes to get alerts and risk not getting the best of the number. You'll also get real-time money percentages to see where the smart money is flowing and access to our NFL player prop projections powered by Koerner. The best deal of the year runs through Sunday. Just go to actionnetwork.com/pro to sign up right now for $40 off an annual subscription. Tight end, week 12 on the waiver wire. Koerner, where are you looking?
AJ Barner. He's available in 91% of leagues. And I've been holding out for him, for a while now, because I'm a huge Elijah Arroyo stan. But the time has come to just kind of be in on AJ Barner, coming, especially after last week, 10 catches, 70 yards. Now, granted, it was, a rare trailing game script for Seattle, thanks to Darnold's, 4 interceptions. So, they were very pass heavy. That obviously led to Barner having a massive game. But I just think with Rashid Shaheed now in the mix and, Cooper Kupp's back, Torrey Horton could be back this week. They just have so many receivers. We're going to see more, 3 tight end sets. They're probably still going to be a heavy personnel team, but, more 3 wide receiver sets. It's just going to come at the expense of someone like Arroyo. So, Barner had a season high 80% routes run rate last week. So that's massive for his receiving upside, but he's, their Jalen Hurts, where he's running the tush push every week.
Yeah.
He gets a carry or 2 from the tush push. They had a couple weeks ago. He scored a touchdown that way. I don't know how many times they've been at the goal line where they've, chosen not to use him. But this is a situation where we have a tight end that could be, rushing for a couple touchdowns the rest of the way. So he's sort of like Taysom Hill with a higher floor, in my opinion. So this is somebody we have to be on notice about. And he's, my tight end 13 heading into this week, but he has that hidden upside with the tush push play and just more work now with Shaheed there, interestingly, that I think, we got to consider him a potential tight end 1 the rest of the way if this keeps up. So I like him this week against the Titans. They could probably be much more run heavy here. But again, that could mean him getting a goal line score if they do get there. So I like AJ Barner this week and going forward. I think he's very sneaky at this point.
Yeah, he definitely is one of those. Mark Andrews also gets some of those. Those quarterback designed, tush push kind of plays. So yeah, definitely trending up is Barner. I think, last week obviously you're not going to get that volume every week, like the 10 catches. That's usually not going to happen to Seattle, but he's, like you said, kind of got that safe floor where if they are leading more 2 tight end sets, he's on the field. If they're trailing, they're the defense probably playing zone, and he's just getting a lot of volume. So yeah, like Barner as well. The guy I'm going to talk about is Juwan Johnson. Now on paper, it's a little bit of a tougher matchup. He is available in just over half of leagues, but this guy just with Shaheed in Seattle is kind of the Saints' number 2 target. So Tyler Shuck looked like he elevated the passing game a little bit compared to Rattler in the last matchup. Now you go against the Falcons. Defense has been trending down with all the injuries. So I think Johnson in a dome here should be pretty productive. He's my tight end 12, so he's right there
Nice.
as a borderline tight end 1. Kind of crowded, murky in that Saints receiving room for a while, but now it's pretty clear it's going to be Olave, Johnson, Vele as the top 3 and then whoever the running back is. So yeah, like Juwan Johnson if he's still available as well.
Yeah, like it. And what'd you think of Tyler Shuck? I think he's going to kind of help these guys out. I think he's an upgrade over Rattler. Were you as impressed with him before the bye?
Yeah, I mean, it's like the Panthers kind of had like a sleepy game, so it's like they even came out and said like we weren't preparing well because they had gone on like a little win streak. So I think he's better. I mean, he's obviously better than Rattler. I would hope, but I mean, he also didn't win the job until right now. Kellen Moore tends to know what he's doing, so it's murky. But I mean, I'm optimistic that and at least it looks like he's going to give the receivers a few more chances because he's not going to scramble quite as much as a guy like Rattler. So I think pleasantly, cautiously optimistic, I would say.
Yeah.
It's the Saints.
Good way.
Who knows?
Good way to put it. And yeah, his rushing prop was like 19.5 yards.
Yeah.
I think in his like first official start, and I was like, that's way too high. He's not like a running quarterback, so I stayed away, and he hasn't done anything since. But yeah, he's definitely not going to scramble as much as Rattler. So that's going to lead to a couple more targets, boosting someone like Juwan.
Yeah, exactly. He's still playing like 80% of the snaps in the pass game. All right, defense, special teams. Who are we looking at?
Yeah, I think this is a good week for people streaming defense. I think the Browns are my top choice because they're available in 50% of leagues and they're facing the Raiders. So I think it's a good spot where you have like an excellent defense, arguably the best run defense facing the Raiders, who have just really struggled to block Fresh and Genty all year, leads the league in stuff rate. So last week they just abandoned the run early on against Dallas even. So I'm expecting Geno's going to have to drop back a ton here, and he leads the league in interceptions, 4th most sacks taken. So ton of options here for the Browns defense. I think Myles Garrett should have a field day against this offensive line. So they open up as my number 5th ranked defense, but just like personally, they're my favorite play this week. Yeah,
it's the Browns for me. I was initially going to go with the Raiders, but I mean they're just so terrible. But they are facing probably Shedeur Sanders, who is like, oh my God, this guy. Like, remember that time we met up we were in Chicago? I think Sanders had something like 11 dropbacks for like negative 11 yards in the preseason or something. And then he kind of had like a similar stat line. So, I mean, if he's going to go, I kind of still want the Raiders, but there are, like you said, there are options. I think the Bills, if they're available, about half of leagues, going up against the Texans with Davis Mills, looks like he's going to get another start. He's definitely, they're definitely an option as well. So, there are numerous options on the wire. You could get the 49ers going against the Panthers. I don't love it that much, as I would have, before Bryce Young just kind of went crazy in this last matchup. But definitely a number of options. I see, there's a lot of like the Kansas City Chiefs. Like, I don't love them against the Colts. They're still owned, I think, a little too highly. And then who else is owned a little much from like the Rams against Tampa Bay? Like that's another one. They're already owned like in half of leagues. I would still probably drop them. Like we said, you never know what you're getting from Baker. So I would take the Raiders even over some of those. But you can also pivot to the Vikings, the Niners, or the Bills. But the Bills would be my first choice of the pivots. But
yeah, Bills.
A lot of options.
Yeah, they're my number 3 defense. Do you think it changes at all if it looks like Stroud returned to practice? Does it matter like if Stroud is back? Would you have him outside your top 5, or does it not matter?
Yeah, I would lower them a little. it sounded like he wasn't going to go just because of the short week. But yeah, I mean, they could just be playing games with the injury report. But we'll see how that. Yeah, Stroud would, because they're borderline for me. You never know what version of the Bills defense you're going to get. I mean, they still gave up 32 last week, so it's not super safe either. But I think it's probably worth holding off. If Stroud does play, because there will be other options better than the Bills, I think, by Sunday. But if Stroud is out, I'm fine going Bills on Thursday.
Yeah, are there any like bad weather games? Do you know? Like, I know it's early in the week, but yeah, the Bills play Thursday night, so you'd lock them in early, but there might be some situations where there's going to be inclement weather, and one of our defenses, and it ends up being in the top 5. So not seeing anything too crazy.
Yeah, like the Packers game I think is in Green Bay, so that no, it's just windy there. Whereas it was, I think Chicago was a candidate, but it looks like the weather around the country is trending good for this week.
Just neutral, yeah. Anything can happen by Sunday, but yeah, I'm not seeing anything. Like last week, we kind of knew, that Bills game would be kind of windy, but it didn't matter. They still scored 80 points. So
yeah,
sometimes weather's overrated anyway.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the schedule. The only ones like right now that even have a chance of rain showers would be the Chiefs game, but that's like a very low chance, and the wind is nothing almost. So, that I don't think that would affect even like a guy like Alec Pierce or anything. So, I like the Chiefs defense; they're always great schemed, but I don't know is this like another Daniel Jones pumpkin game, or because they're coming off a bye too, so they've been well coached, right? Are they? You think it's Who do you think has the advantage there?
Oh, I mean, well, the Chiefs are -3.5, and everybody's like, "What the hell is this?" I have -4 in our initial projections. I don't know where you have them, but I think they're going to show up here, and we could have a Daniel Jones pumpkin game here, where he's just going to have to drop back to pass more. They're my 14th defense. I think you already laid out a few excellent options this week. I don't think you need to play the Chiefs this week, but yeah, I think people are kind of like, I guess, overrating the Colts right now heading into Arrowhead. But yeah, I think this could be a rough game for Jones. Who knows?
Yeah, it's tough because the Colts, I mean, it depends how much of the year priors you use, because the Colts have been the better team this year. The Chiefs are 5-5, but I agree. I think at some point they're going to show up. But I mean, kind of thought that last week too, and they played a good team and didn't get it done. So yeah, it's tough. But either way, it could just be an under spot. So maybe both defenses. But yeah, the Bears, if they're facing Rudolph, is going to be an option. But now Rodgers hasn't been ruled out. But I mean, he's old. How can he play through like a fractured wrist, right? Like that.
Well, it's just his left. It's not his throwing hand. So
he's already scared to stand in the pocket, though. Like, yeah,
true.
I can't see it, but yeah, if he goes, I mean, props to him. That would be some dedication. And the Bears defense could, if it's Rodgers, I don't think I want any. Would you still want the Bears if Rodgers went? Probably not, right?
No, probably not. Again, there's just so many good options. I still like your Raiders pick. Sounds like Shador's going to start. So, yeah. I mean, they're widely available. I think they're good at it. If the Browns are available, you got to go with them. The Raiders are a nice fallback. And then you got some options from there. And like you said, the Bills Thursday night, decent option. I don't think you need to go outside our top 10 this week.
Yeah, I mean, I would have the Bears like borderline top 10 if Rudolph is starting. So that's why I asked. But let's talk about kickers, man. We got to talk. Everybody loves when we talk about kickers. Apparently, what do you like on the waiver wire for week 12?
I like when we talk about kickers too. Remember, I bag on them heading into the season because I say don't draft them. But once the season starts, I live off streaming kickers. Yeah. So I love talking and projecting kickers during the season. This is the time where they're important. But I'm going to go with Harrison Mevis of the Rams, available in 99% of leagues. The thicker kicker has filled in for Josh Carty the last 2 weeks. So he has one more week where they can elevate him from the practice squad before they need to sign him to the active roster. So, there's a chance they save that and they have Carty kick this week. I'm done trying to predict what the Rams are going to do. But if he does kick this week, he's inside my top 3 because he has 9 extra points in his 2 games with the Rams, 0 field goal attempts. The Rams offense has just been too good to set him up for field goals. So, this week against the Buccaneers, they have one of the highest team totals of the week. I think he has a high floor, but they might have to settle for a couple field goals this week, which is going to, raise his ceiling. But he can boom it, man. He was 13 of 18 from 50-plus yards in his final season in college, 72% make percentage, including a 61-yarder. So he's proven he has, strong leg. He's an accurate kicker. So if and when he finally does get, field goal attempt, I think he's going to be above average. And this is a game, at home in LA. So it's kind of a domed environment. And again, we just kind of went through all the weather in the week. Looks like it's pretty benign, but things can change. So it's just always nice having an indoor kicker, especially by, last week we had a handful of games with a ton of wind. So when it comes to Mevis, you don't have to worry about that. So if he is the Rams kicker again this week, I have him inside my top 3. So he's my top streaming option if he does suit up.
Yeah, he's my kicker 5, but it's only because the Rams have been so good. It's like right. you never know. But and then so the guy I'm going to talk about is actually my kicker 7, so he's right there. So I'd still go with yours. But you'd have to know, you have to be sure he's playing, because the Rams play at the Sunday night game, right? So that is the one kind of complication, is that there's a chance he doesn't get elevated.
Yeah, that's true.
It's kind of like the Green Bay situation, which it's funny we joked about last week, because they had the other guy up and he missed kicks last week.
Yeah, and the last thing I want to worry about is yeah, and that's a good point. And the last thing I want to sit there and worry about is if the kicker is going to even be the kicker for the team. So if you want to go someone else because of that concern, I wouldn't follow you.
Cam Little, he's gonna be the kicker for the Jaguars. That's who I like. He's still available about 70% of leagues, and I mentioned it, kind of a better spot for him than most weeks, because in Jacksonville, you're kind of dealing with weirdness, humidity, just kind of odd conditions. Arizona is a little bit better, a lot better usually for that.
Yeah.
They do have the roof. It's just it's just kind of usually perfect there. So Cam Little in a game that could be back and forth. Jaguars, like the Rams, Liam Cohen used to be a Sean McVay guy, right? So they tend to settle for those field goals when they can. They're not super aggressive, as you would think, for as successful as they are. So I like Cam Little a lot this week. But don't mind me. It's just got to make sure. Sometimes the coach will come out and say it, like, yeah, he's going to kick again, or they'll sign him to the active roster. If that happens, then just keep going with him. But if not, I might have to kind of do like lower him and kind of give you the same Green Bay warning as last week. Like he might be up there, but you never know. Yeah. And that's what happened.
Yeah,
it looks like. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, Arizona is a great place for Little because it's indoors, but isn't it kind of high in elevation? Not mile high, but let me see.
It's like a little higher.
It's 1.1K feet above sea level, so the ball's going to travel a little bit farther. So he could attempt a 71-yarder there, right? Like a little extra few yards for Little there.
However far back Trevor Lawrence loses yards on his sack on third down, in a key situation, that's where they're kicking from.
Yep. I think because I've golfed in Arizona before, and I was wondering why my drives were going so far, and it's like, it's like high in elevation. So just saying, he could probably make a 71-yarder there. All things
boring
considered.
Stadium ever though. At State Farm Stadium is just so generic.
You said it was kind of a shithole, or like
it's
disappointing.
It's not as great as I expected for a stadium that has hosted as many like Super Bowls as it has.
Well, we're spoiled. I think SoFi is the best stadium I've ever been to.
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, I still haven't been to the Raiders one, so that's the one I also hear good things about. But SoFi's got to be up there. And the good thing is we got it looks like Kaimi Fairbairn is gonna kick for Houston this week. So at least we know that as far as kickers go. And Andre
Schmidt. Let me update. I'm updating these as we speak. Thank you for these.
But I got McManus, and I don't even know how to say his name, Havlicek, at 50% each kicking for the Packers, because I don't know.
Wait till the inactives come out to worry about that. But
but you can't, because then somebody might be what time is their game? Let's see. Their game is I think they have a 1:00 game this week, right? Yes. Okay, so you're good. Yeah, they got a 1:00.
Oh, okay. God, projecting kickers has been a nightmare this year. Absolute nightmare.
All right, that is going to do it. We got our kicker talk in. We got our waiver talk in. Week 12, Fantasy Flex. Be sure to subscribe to the pod so you don't miss an episode the rest of the season. We got our player projections episode coming out next. And then our DFS episode coming out on Thursday. We'll be back also Friday on the Action Network pod if you like touchdowns. So be sure to subscribe to that as well. Sean is on X at _oddsmaker. I am at Chris Raybon. We're at those same handles on the free award-winning Action Network app. Also follow Playbook on Twitter. Until next time, let's get this money.